Well, welcome back, crew. We've got Thunder basketball on the calendar. I hope you guys are ready to do all your game prep and get ready for our broadcast, everything we're going to do on the website, because the NBA announced the schedule for the seeding games, the 8 games that the Thunder will play, along with the 21 other teams that are headed down to Orlando. That's going to set up the remainder of this 2019-20 season and the playoffs. Guys, just real quick, I want to go around the horn. Start with you, Chris Fisher. Your reaction to this schedule release?
It's finally here. I can't believe it. We're at this point where the NBA is officially back. You got times, you got opponents. And the interesting thing for me is actually all 8 of these opponents for the Thunder were actually on the schedule anyway for the remainder 18. Because 13 of the 18 teams that are in the 22-team bubble were allowed to balance out the schedule. So I don't think there's any surprises on this schedule, and I think the Thunder can get a little maybe redemption on night 1.
Mike, how about you?
Well, first of all, I'm super excited. Unprecedented what we're about to face. I think we've heard that word so much lately. I won't use it anymore after today. But I'm excited just to see how all this plays out. I mean, it's something we've never done before. The NBA has always been innovative and just coming up with creative plans. This 8-game schedule, Thunder basketball, you got the call. We don't have to talk about Chris Fisher's hair anymore. We're talking about players and games and scouting reports now.
Paris, how about you? This has been an interesting first season.
Memorable to say the least, but I have to capitalize on this excitement that Mike was talking about. I mean, we were so enjoying watching this team play, and the fun they were having on the floor and off the floor was just contagious. I know we were all disappointed. I think I speak for everybody when I said we were really looking forward to see what this team could do in the playoffs. So now that we get a chance to see it, the only way I can describe it, to bring up hair again, is like going to the hair salon for the first time in 3.5 months and getting a haircut. Multiply that excitement by 10.
All right, well, let's get into the schedule. All 8 games will be on Fox Sports Oklahoma. You can catch them on the radio as well, WWLS, the sports animal, and the Thunder Radio Network. Each of us, we're going to break down 2 of the matchups. I'll start first. Saturday, August 1st, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, Thunder versus Jazz. We're going to be back with the same matchup that we just left back on March 11th when we almost had a game at Chesapeake Energy Arena. I think that night for all 4 of us is going to be emblazoned in our minds for a very, very long time. That season series was 1-1 between the division rivals. First game of the season up in Utah did not go the Thunder's way, but then OKC went into Salt Lake City later in December and really took care of business. Similar situation with the next opponent, the Denver Nuggets, another division foe. That game is on Monday, August 3rd at 3 p.m. Central Time. And the Thunder was the only Northwest Division team to beat the Nuggets all season long. That was a thumping on the very first game back from the All-Star break in February. The Thunder really took them to task. Huge game from Steven Adams, a double-double. So we'll see how the Thunder fares in those first 2 games against division rivals. Paris, you're up next here. The Thunder plays the LA Lakers on August 5th at 5:30 p.m. and then the Memphis Grizzlies on August 7th at 3 p.m.
Yeah, Nick, this stretch of games really hits on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to playoffs. First, on August 5th, the Thunder take on the top team in the West for the 4th time this season. And the Thunder came up short in the previous 3 matchups with the Lakers. But I emphasize short because in 2 of those 3 matchups, the Thunder lost by 5 and 3 points. So we're talking 1 and 2 possessions of a difference. And so resilient as ever, the Thunder has proven their ability to hold their own and rock the boat against this veteran Lakers team. So that will be an exciting one to watch, to really see what this Thunder team is made of in this really unprecedented Orlando situation. And 2 days later, the Thunder turn around and face the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, when I say Memphis, a lot of Thunder fans will think of the 24-point comeback victory at home. Just an incredible come-from-behind victory led by Dennis Schroeder with 31 points in that game. And, of course, that was the Suits game. The team came in swagged out before the game. So this is a young, talented Memphis team led by John Morant. They play at an incredibly fast pace. They're 4th in the league in fast break points. So the Thunder will need to bring that same swagger and energy that they brought in December against this team.
So after that, the Thunder's got its only back-to-back set of games Sunday, August 9th at 11:30 a.m. against the Washington Wizards. Monday, August 10th at 1:30 p.m. Central Time against the Phoenix Suns. Chris, will you let us know about those two matchups?
Yeah, it's interesting because you said back-to-back. Not only is it a back-to-back, but it's also starting sort of the second half of the 8-game schedule. So with Washington and Phoenix, interestingly enough, both teams last respectively in their conference. Washington is the 8th seed in the East, the 9th seed in the East. Phoenix is essentially the last team in the Western Conference. Washington is 5 games out. Phoenix is 6. So my question is, at that point of the season, are these two teams even going to be eligible to make the postseason? Where's the motivation going to be by the time the Thunder end up playing these two teams? That's a big factor. The Thunder, though, definitely should have the advantage in both games. Starting out, Washington, if you go back and you think about the first matchup between these two teams, you got to go all the way back to the second game of the season, and it was a Thunder loss at home. They scored 85 points in that game. What's happened since? Well, Washington is the worst team in the NBA in defensive rating at allowing over 115 points per game. I'd be shocked if the Thunder only scored 85 points. They should have the advantage in that one without a doubt. Phoenix, a team they've beaten twice. They had to have a big comeback in one of them, and the other one was at the end of January in Phoenix. But still some talent on that team. You got some young, good players in Devin Booker who can go off at any given moment, so he's a threat. And obviously the developing young big man in DeAndre Ayton, the man in the middle. So intriguing matchups, but some things might be a little bit more determined by the time that they meet up.
Chris, I'm so glad you brought up that fascinating subplot of, as we get a week or two into this, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what these teams have to play for, what their energy levels are like, who's handling the bubble better than others. And that brings us to the final 2 games of this 8-game schedule during the seeding portion of the schedule. And Michael Cage, that's Wednesday, August 12th at 7 p.m. against the Miami Heat. And then Friday, August 14th. We don't have a time yet on that one, but that's against the LA Clippers. Break down those 2 matchups for us.
Well, first of all, this is the final 2 games, as you just mentioned. And what you're going to look at here is, where are you? This is your measuring stick. Where's your conditioning? Now, this is not a cupcake schedule at this point. You got the number 4 team in the East, the Miami Heat, who beat you at home back on January 17th. You remember Kendrick Nunn had those 22 points. Jimmy Butler didn't have a sensational game, but Miami showed that they could be very physical. They could play a matchup zone defense that caused problems for the Thunder that they're going to have to figure out. I think that's going to help them with that time down in Orlando. Now, Eric Spoelstra, he's a tremendous coach. He's going to have this team ready. They're going to play very predictable basketball. You have to deal with the same things you dealt with back on January 17th. Now the Clippers. Now you got a Hall of Fame future coach in Doc Rivers. That's not the problem, okay? The problem is going to be Kawhi Leonard. Is he firing on all pistons? Is Paul George and those two connected together? And if that isn't enough, with the Clippers having the second best record in the Western Conference with a 20-6 road record, doesn't matter. This is a veteran team. They got one of the most lethal benches in the association last year, dominated. You know, Montrezl Harrell, I thought, could have possibly be in contention for 6th man of the year. If not that guy, it's definitely Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder got my vote. But there's another guy who's a 2-time winner of the previous years, Lou Williams. You have to deal with a bench. You have to deal with also a veteran coach. You have to deal with 2 remarkable players that play at an all-star level that are not afraid to play in any situation. That's going to be tough, but that's also going to be what's fun about this schedule. How will it come out? Will you be ready? And where will it lead you into the playoffs?
And that's a perfect way to put a bow on it, because those final 2 matchups are going to be so critical for seeding. The one good thing that the Thunder does not have to worry about, though, is it has clinched a playoff spot now with only 8 games left. That is the 10th time in the last 11 years that the Thunder has made the playoffs. And so I know Thunder fans are going to be really excited to see what their team does beyond this 8-game schedule as well. Team, thanks for joining me today and breaking down the schedule.